Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Coffee and Connection Week 189. It's great to be here with all of you. I know I didn't send much of an intro as to what this session was going to be about. So thank you all for being here. And, it's great to connect with you. Sometimes it's like I know I want to connect and I know there's what to share. Sometimes I'm not sure what the topic is going to be. Sometimes I just was, there's just been so much going on. It was hard to like put it into words, take the moment to really put together an email, but I did want to make sure that you all knew that this was happening and that you were able to join. And I think this is working. I guess that's how this one works. It only has one. Okay. So we have, so much has happened over the last week. I mean, it's crazy. I know we probably said that last week, and yet this week has really been, again, such a crazy week. Even just in the last hour, I saw there's new news coming out. And, definitely everything that happened on Motzei Shabbos was such a big deal. So much emotions, um, such so many feelings. And I think what's really important, what I want to talk about right now is, I know we talked about it a little bit last week, or maybe a lot, but I think we have to talk about it even more, is making sure and seeing the power and the importance of feeling these emotions. I speak to women every day. I spoke to someone today. I've spoken to women almost every day about this experience of it's like we've been taught, it's like we believe that the less emotions we have, the stronger our emuna is. The less emotions we have, the stronger we are, the more we're have a connection with Hashem, the more like calm we're going to be, the better mothers and wives and women and Avdei Hashem we are. It's this very interesting idea of like as if we're not supposed to have emotions, right? And I can talk a little bit where I think some of this comes from, but it's important to acknowledge that we're not told not to have emotions. We're told not to be consumed by our emotions. We're told that our emotions shouldn't be the thing driving the car, right? Don't go after your heart and eyes. And yet, we know that we actually are meant to feel emotions, right? We are supposed to love Hashem with all our heart. Where there is such power in having emotions. And actually, emotions are what create, how can we love Hashem with all our heart? How can we feel so connected to Hashem is through our emotions. And that's true in our relationships as well. A lot of times when we're struggling to connect with someone, the reason we're struggling to create connection is because we're not sharing emotions. And sometimes that's because we're not feeling emotions, right? Because we think we're not supposed to feel emotions. I've noticed something in a lot of my conversations and then watching like different things that are coming up around like talks and videos and whatever around parenting these days. It's very interesting. On the one hand, one of the things that I hear women complain about a lot is my husband was raised in a home where they were taught not to have emotions. No emotions, no emotional expression, no emotional connection. They weren't connected to their emotions. Do you ever have that complaint about your own home that you grew up in or the home your husband grew up in? Like no emotional connection, no emotional what's the word that's used? No expression of emotions. And yet there's like this still today when we have this idea of like emotions we should feel like you should feel your emotions, there's this ideal being taught of like the perfectly calm stoic positive parent who like nothing bothers them, everything's great, everything's calm. And no, I'm not saying we should be like erratic and emotional all the time. At the same time, they're like, aren't we saying that there's something positive to feeling emotions, being in tune with your emotions, feeling emotions, expressing emotions? That means that we have to have emotions. And it's so there's like this amuna thing that we feel like if we have emotions, it means we don't have amuna. We talked about that a lot last week. Sometimes we think that if we have emotions, it means that we're not logical and we need to think of everything all rationally. or we think that we'll be seen in this illogical way. We won't be, those perfect parents that we want to be. And also, we may feel like emotions are going to make like they also can be very overwhelming. There is the reality that emotions create feelings, right? Like if you're in tune with your emotions, everything is life can feel sometimes like a roller coaster, right? When you're not in touch with your emotions, and when I used to not be in touch with my emotions, so then like, okay, I miss people, I don't see people for a long time, or something does something, and like, okay, like not such a big deal. The more in tune with my emotions I get, the more I'm emotional, right? Like, I miss you, I love you. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you so much for what, like, you feel things. And yes, that's what leads to connection. All of what I just shared is actually what leads to connection. It's the emotions that we allow ourselves to feel. Yes, not to get pulled by them, not to let them be in the driving seat of everything that we do. We don't go after our heart and eyes, but it's by feeling emotions that we connect to others, that we create intimacy through sharing emotions, through experiencing emotions. We feel connected to others. And when we don't experience emotions, then we lose out on that connection. We also lose out on the experience. We lose out on feeling, here's the thing, not just the negative emotions, but also the positive emotions. If it's too painful for me to feel how much I miss you, then it's also going to be very hard for me to connect to how happy I am to see you, right? If it's too hard for me to say goodbye, I'm going to miss out on feeling such appreciation that I got to spend this time with you. If it's too difficult for me to feel any sort of fear, then it's going to be very difficult to tune into a feeling of gratitude when that feeling is gone. And ladies, that's what brings us to this week. That is how we see so clearly the importance of feeling our emotions. We can be in a state of like, everything's going to be okay, everything's okay, Baruch Hashem, everything's okay. And we can believe that. Remember that. Here's an important piece here. Feelings and beliefs are not the same thing. Like your feelings are often caused by your beliefs, but they're also separate. We can experience feelings and beliefs. I can know with all my heart that Hashem runs the world and everything is for the good. Everything is for the best. That doesn't necessarily take away the pain of painful things happening. It doesn't take away the fear of where will this go? What will this look like? Right? Like we've talked about with Yaakov. He believed in Hashem. He knew Hashem had made a promise to him. He knew he was going to survive his encounter with Esav. But what that encounter was going to look like, he had no idea. And he did come out of it limping. That's what he was afraid of. The fear is what will happen, right? And when we are able to actually acknowledge fear, when we're able to actually acknowledge the pain, when we're able to actually feel the emotion of apprehension or anxiety, how much more can we then sing Shira to Hashem? How much more can we then thank Hashem for saving us from that fear? Ladies, I cannot tell you. I don't know what each of you are experiencing. I'm not negating the fact that there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of scare. Like the world is a scary place, and right now it's scary. What's gonna be? What's gonna happen next? And yet, the more I'll tell you my own experience on Sunday. Okay, yesterday. Can't believe it was just yesterday. So the whole week before, I had been hearing about how we need these bombers, right, to destroy like the biggest threat. And will it happen? Won't it happen? I find that lately listening to like news, like listening to like what actually is going on allows me to feel more of what I need to daven for and also gratitude for the miracles that are happening. It's amazing. It's like I remember hearing that about Rav Moshe Feinstein, I think it was, that he would read the newspaper before he davened in the morning, and people would say, "What do you mean? Isn't that like something you shouldn't do before you daven?" He's like, "How will I know what to daven for if I don't read the news?" So I've been really feeling that. Like every time I listen to like anything about what's actually going on and with people who are really inside and know what's happening, and every time I even just see, like, the highlights, here's this miracle that happened, here's that miracle that happened, here's the video of this apartment that was all destroyed except for everyone who was in the safe room, here's a video of this hospital that was hit, but they happened to evacuate it the day before. Happened to completely evacuate it the day before. You know, my daughter's in Mada, in Beersheba, and like, her friends went. She was upset that she wasn't gonna get to because she was doing something else that day, but they went to the hospital after the missile exploded in the direct hit on the hospital. I don't know if you saw the video. And they were turned away. They were all sent away. Why? Because there were no injuries. Wild. Seeing those things is like you are able to acknowledge the miracles and thank Hashem. I'm getting ahead of myself anyways, but Motzei Shabbos, I woke up at 5:30 in the morning because my husband was listening to Trump's message afterwards. I was like, "What? It happened? He did it. They did it." Like such excitement, so happy, such relief, such thanks to Hashem that it was able to happen. And then just as I was finally about to fall asleep at 7:30, we had sirens waking us up. We had to go down to the bomb shelter. So yes, still the fear and the excitement, the fear and the excitement, the gratitude. Our Rebbe said to say Hallel without a bracha. I really felt it. I felt that Hallel in a way that is not always easy to feel. I felt it. I felt the emotion because I had also allowed myself to feel the fear. And later that day, I listened to a podcast that was talking about how much of a threat Iran had been, how much damage they've done over the last 40 years, how every person who's been killed in a terrorist attack for the last 40 years, everything leads back to Iran. My heart, I was so emotional. And then they were talking about what could have happened if Iran got their hands on, a nuclear bomb. My heart, I felt like I need to say Hallel again. Like, I didn't, but I felt like I need to. Like, that's the power of feeling your emotions. When you can feel the scary emotions, the challenging emotions, the emotions that are difficult to feel, you also get to experience the exhilarating emotions, like being able to thank Hashem. And just before I had a thought, I had to check it. I checked it with my Rebbitzin to find out, like, can I even say this? Is it possible? I said, is it possible that there's a connection? And before I mention this, I just want to start by saying that everyone we look at in the Tanakh, we know that they're on a level way above us, high levels. We also know that we're meant to learn from their mistakes. How do we know that? Well, they're not told to us as perfect people. They're people, right? And the commentators, the rabbis, the Mishnahs, that they're all coming to teach us things from their actions. And we're told about Chizkiyahu. Chizkiyahu could have been Mashiach, high, high level. Bal Amuna to such an extent. He had such high Amuna that he had the ability to, when he was about to be invaded by Sancherib, by the Assyrian army, he just went to sleep. He just went to sleep. That's how high his Amuna was. That also means that he didn't feel fear. But then what do we also hear about him? That the next morning, when all of Sennacherib's army died miraculously outside the gates of Jerusalem, that he didn't sing Shira. He didn't thank Hashem. Now, I think about that a lot. Every time these things happen, I'm like, we have to thank Hashem. We have to thank Hashem. Oh, I was like, what if there's, so like curious, like, what if there's a connection between the his emunah was so high that he couldn't feel the fear, that also made it harder for him to acknowledge the thanks. And so we have to be careful. We have to be careful in pushing away our emotions in so many ways. How that affects our relationships, how that affects our own ability to it affects our relationships because we can't connect with people. That's how you create intimacy. You share your feelings, you share your desires, you share the deep, intimate, authentic parts of yourself. It also it also means that it sacrifices how we what we feel. We can't feel our positive emotions. Sometimes we just feel like, I don't know, I just feel kind of dead inside. I feel blah. It's hard to feel love. It's hard to feel excitement. It's hard to feel joy. That can be because we're pushing away fear and pain and anxiety because no, it's too scary, it's too hard. But then we can't feel anything. And it also means that we're going to struggle to acknowledge when there's been a Yeshua, when something is different than it was. If everything that, we it's too difficult to acknowledge the things that create pain, then when the pain is taken away, we can't be grateful for it, right? Whether that's to Hashem, whether that's to someone in our lives, our husbands maybe, who are doing something different, and we can't acknowledge it because we've kind of shut ourselves off from feeling anything. So it's even difficult to acknowledge the things that we enjoy, the things that we like, the things that they're doing, right? And that's why it's so important to give yourself permission to feel your feelings, to feel, to be human. Now, what we do with those feelings, we, acknowledge them, then we can get curious where they're coming from, what they mean, what we're supposed to do with them, right? Sometimes feelings are there. They, create it. Like we talked about last week, sometimes you feel when you're feeling like nervous in your stomach, you're feeling a rush of adrenaline, you're meant to like go save yourself. Use that energy for something. Use that energy to wake up your kids and get down to the bomb shelter. Use that energy to say Tehillim. Use that energy to do do chesed for people who need help. Use that energy to bake cookies for chayalim. I don't know, whatever you can use that energy for, use it, right? And acknowledge what am I, sometimes it's a feeling that's coming up with other people. We want to be careful. What are we making it mean? What are the thoughts behind it? But here's the thing. We can't get curious about what we're making something mean if we're pushing away what we're making it mean. We're still going to live with the pain of it, but without giving ourselves the ability to deal with it, without giving ourselves the ability to communicate about it, without giving ourselves the ability to work through it. Feeling our feelings is so powerful. It's so important. It's why even when a woman comes to me, I want to work on my relationship. The first thing I do is, well, let's talk about your feelings. Let's get in tune with yourself. What do you want? What do you feel? What's your deepest desires? In the Absolute Feminine program, that's modules 1 to 3, is like just getting in tune with yourself because that's how we work through and create connection in with everyone in our lives. And I think especially today we can see the power of having emotions in our connection with Hashem, in our ability to deal with everything that's going on around us. Besides the fact that if we're pushing away our fear, how are we going to deal with our children's fear? How are we going to deal with other people in our lives who feel afraid and want to share with us? Are we just going to say, no, no, don't worry, have a moment, right? That how will they feel in that moment? Right? So it's important to give yourself the permission, not just the permission, acknowledge the power of feeling your feelings. I see someone saying here, sometimes I feel guilt about feeling stressed because I'm not there running to a bomb shelter, so I don't feel like I have the right to feel that way. Oh I feel so much love for you in this moment because I just want to say what you're feeling in that moment is Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Lezeh, that we are all connected to each other. So you may not feel like, why do I get to feel stressed? I'm not running to a bomb shelter, but you're feeling the pain of your brothers and sisters. You're feeling the pain of maybe if your family or your extended family, Am Yisrael, you're feeling it. It means that your body is connected, your mind is connected, your heart is connected. Chol makom shani olech, ani olech la'eretz Yisrael. Our heart is always connected. There's another phrase I was thinking about, that our heart is always connected to Eretz Yisrael. Thank you for feeling that. You, of course, have a right to feel that way because we're all connected to each other. And it's an expression of your feeling of connection with those who are feeling it. That's allowing yourself to feel, again, a deep emotion that if you pushed it away, right, the opposite would be feeling disconnected from what's going on with your brothers and sisters, feeling disconnected from what's going on in Eretz Yisrael, right? So allow, like, recognizing the positivity, the beauty, the connection, the intimacy that comes from our feelings. Thank you for sharing that. We are all connected to each other. That's right. Yes, Am Yisrael Chai. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I feel so emotional. It's really an emotional experience to be connected with everybody. And I think that, what we see so powerfully, I'm going to say something that's almost for sure going to make me cry because this is the kind of thing that makes me cry. But one of the things that is powerful to learn about in what the main person in Tanakh, we could say, is David HaMelech. And one of the things about David, when you learn about David, you just have to love him. Like, I feel so honored to have a David, Baruch Hashem, that he did everything he needed to do as a warrior, as a king, as as a leader. He fought all his fights and he then attributed it to Hashem. That's the power of David. And Baruch Hashem, that's what we are seeing right now. That's what we are seeing right now in Israel. When you see the prime minister standing up and saying, on the one hand, of course, he's been working on this project for 40 years. We'll say this has been his mission for 40 years. And he did everything he needed to do, and he made the alliances and worked together and, led the army and made the decisions that needed to be made. And then he gets up on Israeli TV today and he said the most important siach, the most important conversation that we have having in Knesset is siyata dishmaya. The fact that before this war started, he went to the Kotel to daven, and yesterday he went to the Kotel to thank Hashem, is Baruch Hashem an expression of this idea. Yes, he felt the fear. He feels the anxiety. He feels the weight of his role right now on his shoulders. And from that place, he's doing what needs to get done and thanking Hashem when it's successful. That's the power of being real with ourselves. It allows us to be really real Balei Emunah. It allows us to be really connected to Hashem and to everyone else in our lives. Now, I hope that this message, these ideas, give you strength. I hope that they give you a sense of permission and relief to feel and be human and acknowledge the good in it, that allows you to feel those difficult feelings that are sometimes hard to feel, because it's only if we feel them. If we just said, nah, everything's in Hashem's hands, Iran's never going to be a problem. If that's what everyone had said, how would we have been able to create what we needed to create, to do what we need to do? Hashem wants us to partner with him in this world. And so we have to be real. Just like sometimes, people say to me, like, I'm just wait, if Hashem wants my marriage to be better, if he wants my life to be happier, he'll make it that way. I'm waiting for him. Hashem may be waiting for you to have a feeling of, I need to do something. I need to shift something. And then with his help, you get to create that change. But we have to allow ourselves to feel the pain, that feeling of not another, that moment, that not another moment, right? Sometimes we have to allow ourselves to feel the pain. I gave somebody the analogy just before that if you have a splinter in your finger hurts because you have a splinter in it. The pain is going to continue until you take the splinter out. And how I'm going to use that analogy right now is if you keep saying, nah, my finger doesn't hurt, it's not so bad, I'll learn to live with it, well, that splinter can get infected. It's not just going to go away. It can cause big problems. It can create, right? It can create a lot of not just a little, oh, I have a little infection in my finger, so there's some pus. That infection can go all the way through your body, right? It's when we feel our feelings and allow ourselves to feel them, then not to get stuck in them, so that then we can do what needs to be done and feel the relief that comes on the other side, right? So here, to just look at this question here. When I'm emotionally occupied with other big things going on in my life, it's hard to connect to the fear and pray. Easier to just not feel the pain for now. Otherwise, I need to deal with it. Is it okay to push it away for a few days until I feel stronger? Of course, I would say that one of the best things to do in those experiences, rather than pushing off for a few days, the advice I got years ago when I was dealing with anxiety, and it's one of the best ways to deal with these kinds of feelings, especially if there's a part of you that wants to pray, wants to feel connected. One of the things you can do is push it off until a certain moment of the day. So maybe you tell yourself, okay, I can't think about this right now. I'm dealing with the kids, or I'm dealing with work, or I'm dealing with my parents, or whatever you're dealing with. At 10 o'clock tonight, from 10 to 10:15, that will be my time to feel it. That so the rest of the day, you're not pushing it away like it doesn't matter. You're saying it matters and I'm going to give it that time. And then to make sure that you actually do give it that time. Okay. Well, I love that. Okay, good. Baruch Hashem. Ladies, thank you so much. I'm glad that we were able to, thank God, get through this episode together. Thank you to everyone who's here and your comments. Thank you for your support. Thank you, everyone, you know, for being in this together. I invite you to, like, let's all continue to daven for things to for the evil to be destroyed, and for us to all be able to be in a state of safety and peace. And Bezrat Hashem, we should only hear good news, only good news. And yes, this will be recorded. Everything is up. There's a few places that you can find it. There's a Coffee and Connection replay page on my website. There it's on you can find it on YouTube, you can find it on Spotify. There's a Google Drive link that goes out in the Coffee and Connection emails. Thank you. So I'll send that out, or you can find it. Chanadeutsch.com. Chanadeutsch.com is my website. You can find it there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And I look, Bezrat Hashem, look forward to seeing you next week. May we only hear Besorot Tovot, and may we always keep celebrating all the good that there is in the world. And yes, exciting to be back here. Thank you. Thank you. The spelling, CHANADEUTSCH.com. You can find it at the bottom of the email where you found the link to this podcast to come live. Okay, ladies, thank you. Until next time, may we all be blessed to live, love, and be loved with all our hearts. Goodbye for now.